Hello, children. I'm going to share a story with you from my favorite children's author, my absolute favorite, Cynthia Ryland. This book is illustrated by Susie Stevenson. And this book is called Henry and Mudge. And it's from a series of Henry and Mudge books, which I hope you know. And if you don't, I'm glad to introduce them to you. It's so good. Definitely one of my children's favorite stories, and I loved reading them with my kids. So here we go. This is called Henry and Mudge, the first book. It's a chapter book. There's a bunch of chapters in it, so we'll get through them all together. This chapter is called Henry. Henry had no brothers and no sisters. "I want a brother," he told his parents. "Sorry," they said. Henry had no friends on his street. "I want to live in a different house," Henry told his parents. "Sorry," they said. Henry had no pets at home. "I want to have a dog," he told his parents. "Sorry," they almost said. But first they looked at their house with no brothers and sisters, and then they looked at their street with no children. They looked at Henry's face. They looked at Henry's face, and then they looked at each other. "Okay," they said. "I want to hug you," Henry told his parents. And he did. This is the next chapter called Mudge. Henry searched for a dog. "Not just any dog," said Henry. "Not a short one," he said. "Not a curly one," he said. "And no pointed ears." And then he found Mudge. Mudge had floppy ears, not pointed, and Mudge had straight fur, not curly. But Mudge was short because he was a puppy. Henry said, "He'll grow." And did he ever? He grew right out of his puppy cage. He grew out of his dog cage. He grew out of 7 collars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In a row. 7 collars in a row. And when he finally stopped growing, he weighed 180 pounds. He stood 3 feet tall, and he drooled. "I'm glad you're not short," Henry said. And Mudge licked him, and then sat on him. This chapter is called Henry. Henry used to walk to school alone. When he walked, he used to worry about tornadoes and ghosts and biting dogs and bullies. He walked as fast as he could. He looked straight ahead. He never looked back. But now when he walked to school with Mudge, and now when he walked, he thought about ice cream and rain and rocks and good dreams. He walked to school, but not too fast. He walked to school, and sometimes he walked backwards. He walked to school and patted Mudge's big head, happy. This chapter is called Mudge. Mudge loved Henry's room. He loved dirty socks. He loved the stuffed bear. And he loved the fish tank. But mostly, he loved Henry's bed. Because in Henry's bed was Henry. Mudge loved to climb in with Henry, and then he loved to smell him. He smelled his lemon hair. He smelled his milky mouth. He smelled his soapy ears. He smelled his chocolate fingers. Then he put his head by Henry's head. He looked at the fish tank. He looked at the bear. He looked at Henry. He licked him and then fell asleep. He really loves Henry. This chapter is called Mudge. One day, Mudge took a walk without Henry. The sun was shining. The birds were flying. The grass smelled sweet. Mudge couldn't wait for Henry, so he left. He went down one road, sniffing the bushes, and then down another road, kicking up dust. He went through a field, across a stream, into some pine trees, and when he came out the other side, he was lost. He couldn't smell Henry. He couldn't smell his front porch. He couldn't smell the street he lived on. Mudge looked all around and didn't see anything or anyone he knew. He whined a little alone without Henry. He lay down alone without Henry. He missed Henry's bed. Henry thought Mudge would be with him always. He thought Mudge made everything safe. He thought Mudge would never go away. And when Mudge did go away, when Henry called and called, but Mudge did not come, Henry's heart hurt, and he cried for an hour. But when he finished crying, Henry said, "Mudge loves me. He wouldn't leave. He must be lost." So Henry walked and walked, and he called and called, and he looked and looked for his dog Mudge. He walked down one road, and then down another road. The sun shone as Henry ran through a field, calling and calling. The birds flew past as he stood beside a stream, calling and calling. And the tears fell again as he looked at the empty pine trees for his lost dog. "Mudge," he called one last time. And Mudge woke up from his lonely sleep, then came running. This chapter is called Henry and Mudge. Every day when Henry woke up, he saw Mudge's big head. And every day when Mudge woke up, he saw Henry's small face. They ate breakfast at the same time. They ate supper at the same time. And when Henry was at school, Mudge just lay around and waited. Mudge never went for a walk without Henry again, and Henry never worried that Mudge would leave. Because sometimes in their dreams they saw long, silent roads, big, wide fields, deep streams, and pine trees. In those dreams, Mudge was alone and Henry was alone. So when Mudge woke up, he knew Henry was with him. He remembered the dream and stayed close. And when Henry woke up and knew Mudge was with him, he remembered the dream and the looking and the calling and the fear. And he knew he would never lose Mudge again. The end.